Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare, Hare Rama, Rama, Hare Krishna, Krishna, Hare Rama. Hare Krishna, Krishna, Hare Rama, Hare Krishna. Hare Krishna, Krishna, Hare Rama, Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna, Hare Rama, Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, 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 Hare Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Hare Ram, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Rama, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama. Hare Krishna. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama, Hare Hare Krishna. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama, Hare Hare. Gaur Premanande Haribo. Jai Om Vishnupad Paramahamsa Parivrajacharya Shotashara Satashi Srimad His Divine Grace A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada Ki Jai. Jai Om Vishnupad Paramahamsa Parivrajacharya Shotashara Satashi Srimad His Divine Grace Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Goswami Maharaj Prabhupada Ki Jai. Anantakoti Vaishnava Vrinda Ki Jai. Namacharya Srila Haridas Thakur Ki Jai. Prem Se Kaho Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shivasari Gaura Bhaktivinoda Ki Jai. Shri Radha Krishna Gopa Gopinath Shamakund Radha Kund Giri Govardhan Ki Jai. Vrindavan Dham Ki Jai, Navadvip Dham Ki Jai, Bhakti Devi Ki Jai, Tulsi Devi Ki Jai, Yamuna Maya Ki Jai, Ganga Maya Ki Jai, Samaveda Bhaktivinoda Ki Jai, Gaur Premanande Haribo, Shri Shri Gaur Nitai Ki Jai. So we're continuing. Are we on text 15 tonight? Chapter 2. 16, chapter 2. Okay, so this is on page 92 in the temple room. Na sato vidyate bhavo, na bhavo vidyate sataha, upayorapi dristo, nas tvandos tattvadarsibihi. Translation: those who are seers of the truth have concluded that of the non-existent there is no endurance, and of the existent there is no cessation. The seers have concluded by studying the nature of both. Text 17. Anivasi tutadvidhi yena sarvam idam tatam vinasham avyayayasya nakaschit kartumarhati. Translation: know that which pervades the entire body is indestructible. No one is able to destroy the imperishable soul. Text 18. Antavanta ime deha nityasyo yuktasinanaha anasino prameyasya tasmadyustyasva bharata. Translation: only in the material body of the indestructible, immeasurable, and eternal living entity is subject to destruction. Therefore, fight, O descendant of Bharata. Text 19. Ya enam vettihantaram yaschinam manyate hatam ubhoto na vijanito nayam hanti nahanyate. Translation: he who thinks that the living entity is the slayer or that he is slain does not understand. One who is in knowledge knows that the self slays not nor is slain. Text 20. Najayate mriyate va kadachin nayam budva bhavita vanabuya ajo nitya sashvato yam purano nahanyate hanyamani sharire. Translation: for the soul there is never birth nor death, nor having once been does he ever cease to be. He is unborn, eternal, ever existing, undying, and primeval. He is not slain when the body is slain. Text 21. Veda vinashinam nityam ya enam aja avyayam gatam sa purusha partha kam gayatyati kantikam. O Partha, how can a person who knows that the soul is indestructible, unborn, eternal, and immutable kill anyone or cause anyone to kill? Text 22. Vasamsi janadi davadya navani grinati naropranani tatashirani pritani janani adyani simyanti navani dehi. Translation: as a person puts on new garments, giving up old ones, similarly the soul accepts new material bodies, giving up the old and useless ones. 623. Nainam chindanti strastani, nainam dahati pavaka, nachanyam pledeyantyapo, nasosyati marutaha. Translation: the soul can never be cut into pieces by any weapon, nor can he be burned by fire, nor moistened by water, nor withered by the wind. Text 24. Acharityo yamadhatyo yam akledyo sosevacha nitya sarva katastanur achalo yam sanatanaha. Translation: this individual soul is unbreakable and insoluble, and can be neither burned nor dried. He is everlasting, all-pervading, unchangeable, immovable, and eternally the same. Text 25. Avyaktoyam achintyoyam avikaryoyam uchate tasma vidit Vaidam nanusho chittumarhasi. Translation: it is said that the soul is invisible, inconceivable, immutable, and unchangeable. Knowing this, you should not grieve for the body. Past text 26. Tata chainam nitya jatam nityam va manase mritam tatapi tam mahabaho nainam sochittamarhasi. Translation: if, however, you think that the soul is perpetually born and always dies, still you have no reason to lament, O mighty armed. Chapter 2, text 16 reads, those who are seers of the truth have concluded that of the non-existent there is no endurance, and of the existent there is no cessation. The seers have concluded by studying the nature of both. Purport: there is no endurance of the changing body. That the body is changing every moment by the actions and reactions of different cells is admitted by modern medical science, and thus growth and old age are taking place in the body. But the spirit soul exists permanently, remaining the same despite all changes of the body and the mind. That is the difference between matter and spirit. By nature, the body is ever changing, and the soul is eternal. This conclusion is established by all classes of seers of the truth, both impersonalists and personalists. In the Vishnu Purana, it is stated that Vishnu and his abodes all have self-illuminated spiritual existence. Jyotim Shri Vishnur Bhavanani Vishnu. The words existent and non-existent refer only to spirit and matter. That is the version of all seers of truth. This is the beginning of the instruction by the Lord to the living entities who are bewildered by the influence of ignorance. Removal of ignorance involves the re-establishment of the eternal relationship between the worshipper and the worshipable, and the consequent understanding of the difference between the part and parcel living entities and the Supreme Personality of Godhead. One can understand the nature of the Supreme by thorough study of oneself, the difference between oneself and the Supreme Being, understood as the relationship between the part and the whole. In the Vedanta Sutras, as well as in the Srimad Bhagavatam, the Supreme has been accepted as the origin of all emanations. Such emanations are experienced by superior and inferior natural sequences. The living entities belong to the superior nature, as it will be revealed in the 7th chapter. Although there is no difference between the energy and the energetic is accepted as the supreme, and energy or nature is accepted as the subordinate. Living entities, therefore, are always subordinate to the Supreme Lord, as in the case of the master and the servant, or the teacher and the taught. Such clear knowledge is impossible to understand under the spell of ignorance, and to drive away such ignorance, the Lord teaches the Bhagavad-gita for the enlightenment of all living entities for all time. So, Guru Maharaj, we would really appreciate it if you have anything to say on the verses that we're covering today. If anyone has any comments or questions at any time, feel free to raise your hand and pose some discussion. So this verse, it's stating that there's actually people who have seen the truth, and there's actually people who have understand and applied the highest way of living to their lives and been successful at following this discipline that's been passed down generation to generation. And these people, they've studied the nature of the absolute truth, the nature of themselves, of reality, of so many different things, so many different topics that are discussed in Bhagavad-gita. So the main thing is we have to actually hear from those who are seers of the truth. This knowledge, it's not that we can just kind of go and meditate silently and have everything become awakened from within. Personal knowledge about the Supreme Lord. I'm not saying that this is impossible, but it's highly unlikely. So it's very helpful if you actually meet somebody, a seer of the truth, who is happy to share it and help somebody else live a life of truth. So we need to meet some type of guide, some type of spiritual master to get us out of our ignorance, because it's the only way it's going to be dispelled. Our ignorance and our covering, it's so thick. We're nityabadha, we're eternally conditioned souls. We've been doing this time after time after time. So it's very rare that we've gotten the opportunity to serve the Lord. And it's very rare that we're doing our best to try to remember him in everything we do today. Because tomorrow, the opportunity, it's more or less not promised. And it's interesting. We have to think about our Krishna consciousness in relativity of where we're at today, not tomorrow or last week or last month. It's an ever-changing thing. Our relationship with the Supreme Lord it's eternal, and it's always in flux, because our mind is always in flux, especially in the early stages. So it's an interesting thing to appreciate how the relationship kind of seems to shift over time and takes on different qualities at different moments like that. And the relationship with the guide is also going to take on different qualities, and it will develop and grow stronger like that. But either way, whether we're in happiness or in distress, or we're comfortable or we're in pain, or we have some loss or we've acquired some gain, more or less the outcome is all the same. It's not so important, because the nature of this material world is ever changing and it's temporary. It's dukkhalayam shashvatam. It's temporary. It's shashvatam, a place full of miseries. So the transcendentalist, he's neither attached to finding pleasure or engaged in avoiding unpleasurable situations, because he knows that any external situation or external predicament that the body or the mind is a part of is just a temporary manifestation of Krishna's energy. And he knows himself to be under the influence of Krishna's material energy. So he prays avidly to be able to take shelter of Krishna, so he doesn't get swayed by the ways of Maya. Daivi yesha gunamai mama maya durantiya mameva ye prapadyante mayametam tarantite. This divine energy of mine, consisting of the three modes of material nature, is very difficult to overcome, but those who have surrendered unto me can easily cross beyond it. So these three modes of material nature are no joke. It's not easy to overcome them, and they're always going to be there as an obstacle for us until we actually surrender unto Krishna. take shelter of him, and then we can easily cross beyond these modes of material nature. So this word Mam, it means Krishna. It doesn't mean the unmanifest, unborn within Krishna. It doesn't mean the Paramatma. It doesn't mean me, meaning my mind. It means God. God is a person, Vishnu, the Supreme Personality of Godhead. So this is not in relation to Lord Brahma or Lord Shiva or Durga Devi or Ganesh. This is in relation to Krishna. In fact, there's a very famous verse that Lord Shiva even quotes, Mukti Pradata Sarvesham Vishnu Eva Nasamsaya. Lord Shiva himself says, there is no doubt that Vishnu is the deliverer of liberation for everyone. So often in Hindu culture, it's more or less a game of what deity you deem to be God the most, or what form of the Lord do I feel like worshiping today? Because they more or less think of God as coming in many forms, a lot of schools of Hindu thought or misconceptions of that tradition. So they think you can worship Ganesh or Durga or Shiva or Brahma as God, but these are just workers who are holding a temporary position for the Lord to maintain or annihilate or create some of the material manifestation. So some people think that Shiva, oh, I'll worship him as God, but he's saying here that Vishnu is God. He's the supreme. Krishna is supreme. So we should worship Krishna. You know, the mind, it's so stupid. It wants to come up with these things. Oh, it's okay to worship Vishnu, or it's okay to worship Shiva or Lord Brahma. Stupid thinking, you know. We're supposed to be thinking about Krishna, but instead we're thinking of our wife, thinking of our son, we're thinking of our daughter, we're thinking of our wife to be. Oh, our wife to be, we got to think about her. But what about Krishna? You know, we're always forgetting Krishna. It's like everything related to Krishna, it's almost like why can't I think of that? Why do I have to think of everything that's not related to Krishna? I want a nice relationship with my son and my daughter and my wife to be, my friends. I want a nice relationship with them, but because I can't remember Krishna, I don't have a nice relationship with them, you know? Because Krishna is the source of all relationships. Krishna is the source of everything. You know, and he's the source of our life. He's the reason we're here. Someone hears this, they say, okay, the monk is telling me that the goal of life is to have. Well, one main thing I found was that you're asking, what kind of relationship are you going to have? Is it a personal relationship? Is it a bodily relationship? Is it a social relationship? Is it one of servitude or parental? Or, you know, what's the quality of the relationship that we're trying to develop with God? What's the mood of the love that I'm trying to express to God, you know? What does he do? How do I develop love for something that I don't know anything about? What does Krishna do? They say he's moonlight, right? They say he's more beautiful than the full moon. They say that he has a blue luster or luster like a rain cloud. He says that he He plays the flute. His lips are reddened, like he's been chewing betel upon. He has curly locks of hair. His eyes are very sweet and lotus-like. What does he do all day? What does Krishna do? We can read about it in Srila Prabhupada's books. We can come to think about Krishna. Mahaprabhu, he tried to teach us to think about Krishna. The goal of life is to just think about Krishna. He gave us the process of how to remember him all the time, but my mind is so stupid that it doesn't want to remember Krishna. The process that has been given to me is very easy, but still, I don't want to follow it. They say just make the most delicious food and offer it to God, but I don't want to do it. They say just chant his names. They say just glorify him, but I always am forgetting. So why do we make it so hard? Our acharyas, they're saying this, and they have tears coming from their eyes. They're screaming the names of Krishna, and they're weeping out of loving separation for him. And I'm sitting on a Vyasasana attempting to give a class. And I have no such feeling or sentiment towards God at all. So what am I doing wrong? We're trying. It's a very elevated position. Comes from some serious devotion. It's like to have these feelings of love for God out of being away from him, that you can't stand another moment to be a part of him, out of his association. And his devotee knows he's always there too. But there's that separation, and this is what Mahaprabhu came to show us, the highest love of God. And he gave us the process to invoke these feelings of love of God. And our process is if you follow it, then you'll attain these feelings of sublime, ecstatic Krishna prema. All right. Does anyone have any questions or comments? Jai. Bhagavad-gita ki jai.